little bit of a little green screen thing. I got like my lights on, but there's a black background, and I am bigger than I usually am. So eventually I'll figure it out, but it should be a pretty chill review. I'm gonna go through just a few things I thought were pretty cool about the actual movie, and you know, just overall like some background on Deadpool and a few other things. I think overall like he's a pretty cool character. I actually have some pretty cool stuff as well. I want to show you guys. I'll tell you guys about the actual character as well, because I feel like he's got some pretty cool background history thanks to the actual creators, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so I'd say that like Deadpool as a character, he's a little bit different than what you kind of expect from a superhero. We have an anti-hero kind of thing going on. You know, he's a mixture, kind of like Wolverine. He does kill people, which is definitely prevalent in the movie. There's plenty of death, plenty of terrifying moments, to say the least. But at the same time, I'd say he has some redeeming factors, some redeeming qualities from time to time. So that's always good. So yeah, basically right now, I'm gonna just go over like my opinion of the movie, and go over some background with the character. And then eventually, you know, I'll let you guys chat if you want to like, you know, give your opinion, what you thought of the film so far. I'll probably do just a general review first, and then we'll go into like more of the spoiler-heavy type of stuff with some of the character stuff. Overall, I'd say like the movie itself was awesome. I definitely enjoyed like kind of how they broke down a few of the characters. There were a few other moments too as well that they had kind of sprinkled in from other films. Also, you know, Ryan Reynolds, he clearly stated that he wanted to make it kind of like a love story to the character as well, and it shows compared to X-Men Wolverine Origins. It's terrible. Amazon, thank you for the host. So yeah, it was there were some ups and downs with Wolverine Origins. I don't know if you guys ever saw that film. You can save your time in trouble. Don't go see Wolverine Origins or buy it on Blu-ray or have it in your collection, because you're gonna be wasting your time unless you want to, you know, see Will.I.Am hopping around like an idiot, and also the Blob. Two characters that no one asked for, but somehow got their own spot in a film. But you know, Ryan Reynolds played Deadpool in that film as well, if you want to call it Deadpool. It wasn't really much Deadpool actually in the film at all. It was more Wade Wilson, and also more, I can't really even tell you what the whatever the second version of what Wade Wilson was, with the giant retractable blades that come out of his arms. They don't make any sense. You would think if you have like blades coming out of your arms, how can you still bend your arms? You know what I'm saying? Am I making sense? Like if you have retractable arms, you would think. Oh, let me do this a little bit. If you have retractable arms, you would think that, you know, how would you be able to bend your arms if they retract into your arm fully? The blades were like this long. It didn't make sense, but whatever. I'm not gonna get to get too far into Wolverine Origins. Just know that it was a terrible movie, so don't waste your time with it. So that was the birth of Deadpool in the Fox Cinematic Universe. Another breakdown, which is something I'm gonna go into more detail with a few other things coming up soon with the major movies coming out: Batman vs Superman, Doctor Strange, Suicide Squad, of course Civil War on Marvel's side. It's a lot of franchises and a lot of properties that are owned by different companies. So of course Fox currently owns the X-Men franchise. They own the movie rights. So Marvel still owns the characters as far as like the comics go, TV shows, the kind of things. But Fox does own all the property rights for the film side. So when you see those trailers for X-Men Apocalypse, which I'm not sold on right now, to be honest, not feeling it. But when you see that kind of stuff, it's all coming from 20th Century Fox for the most part, for that side of the you know, that side of the company. The rest is split up between Marvel and DC, and then Sony was kind of sprinkled in there with Spider-Man, but they're letting Marvel to kind of take the reins of their movie. So at this point, it's kind of just a mixture of those companies. So with Fox, they've been, you know, pretty much crapping the bed lately with films such as, you know, Fantastic Four. To be fair, I'd say that Wolverine, the last Wolverine film, was pretty solid, except for the third act. And Days of Future Past was decent as well. I'd say that was a pretty good movie. So they had a nice little track record going after the past two films. The only issue was Fantastic Four, which has been bad all the way through. So overall, not a bad run so far. You know, they're doing better for themselves. So I said, okay, you know what, you guys, you may have your shit together finally. And then Fantastic Four happens, and it's a bomb. So everyone's kind of like, I wonder if Deadpool's gonna be good. I was actually thinking that Deadpool would be pretty solid. I'm actually pretty impressed that they stuck with it. I know that Fox was kind of hesitant about doing a rated R film because Fox is hesitant about everything. So whatever. so basically, after spending some time, you know, looking over the trailers and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, you know what, this looks like it might be a pretty solid film. If you guys don't know about how Deadpool got started, you know, they did some test footage for Deadpool a couple years ago, and somehow it went viral. It hit the internet, and people were freaking out. Oh my God, Deadpool, make it happen! So the movie got greenlit. They brought back Ryan Reynolds, who is completely in love with the character, and they got a couple other characters in there, built a script around it, and they were like, this movie has to be rated R. Everybody's like, why? Why do you have to get rated R? Fox is like, it's not gonna make any money. How do you make money on a rated R film? You know, a superhero movie for adults. How does that work? I mean, like, who is gonna go watch a rated R superhero movie? Blade, Watchmen. You know what I mean? Like, there's been examples, but whatever. So they were trying to keep the movie from happening.
Oh, you think dark?
Matt Cam 34, thank you for that follow. So yeah, basically it's been interesting to say the least. But I'd say that, like, there was definitely some points in time where Fox was kind of hesitant about Deadpool. Anyways, the movie got made. Everyone's like kind of hyped for it. Two things that really helped Deadpool a lot: the weekend it came out, there's nothing fucking coming out. It was Valentine's Day weekend, and they played with that in the movie, which is pretty awesome. There's some good scenes. Hey, Shoki, thanks for the host, man. So there were some pretty good moments in there. Just based off of that moment. So I'd say, yeah. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of background with Deadpool. Some pretty cool things that I found out about Deadpool pretty recently. I had a little bit of knowledge of some of the comparisons, but if you guys don't know, the creator of Deadpool, Rob Liefeld, who's actually mentioned in the movie several times, he created Deadpool, the character. I'm gonna read this, like these quotes here I got right off Wikipedia. But he's an artist and writer, Rob Liefeld. He has some ideas of what he wanted to do with the characters. Originally, he created Deadpool and Cable. You guys don't know, Deadpool and Cable are pretty much hand in hand together. They're like, you know, peanut butter and jelly. So the two characters together are pretty awesome. But I say, like, there's definitely some pretty some cool moments between the two of them anyway. But basically, when it comes to Deadpool, he was inspired by a few other characters. Basically, Liefeld said that he wanted to make Deadpool kind of like, you know, his version of, like, you know, Deathstroke, kind of, but cooler. So they played around with that. So that's why his name is Wade Wilson instead of Slade Wilson, like Deathstroke. And they wanted to give him some pretty cool costume and characteristics. He said, like, you know, he's inspired by some other characters like Spider-Man and Wolverine, but he wanted to make up his own new characters in the New Mutants, basically, which is where Deadpool started off on. They had a comic book called the New Mutants that had a bunch of different X-Men type of characters, you know, ones that weren't particularly known as X-Men. And so he wanted to make up his original characters, his own brand of character. So he said, you know, I figure, I'm gonna say this right, a quote right here. I had to make my own Spider-Man and Wolverine. That's what Cable and Deadpool were meant to be. My own Spider-Man and my own Wolverine. Domino was my Elektra, my hot femme fatale. So yeah, basically, you know, Deadpool and Cable were like his version of Spider-Man and Wolverine, you know, and he wanted to add in some weapons to them because of You know, Avengers. You know, all of his favorite Avengers had weapons. Like Captain America had shield, Thor had his hammer, Hawkeye had his bow and arrow. So he figured he'd give, you know, Deadpool and Cable some weapons as well. It worked out pretty well. Backstory wise, Deadpool's one of those characters who has like a weird backstory kind of thing going on, where he can't quite remember all of his background. You know what I mean? After all the you know, massive trauma from, you know, from taking so many bullets to the face, he can't really remember all of his background story. But you know, the general Marvel one is that, you know, he ended up being a mercenary, working for like the Canadian Special Forces, and then at some point he leaves the service, gets cancer, and joins Weapon X program. They implant him with the healing factor from Wolverine. His cells mutate. He becomes horribly disfigured, and then he's also like an unstoppable killing machine. He has like ridiculous healing factor, to the point in which you can't pretty much kill him. The Hulk has smashed his head like a grape before, and he's growing it back. So pretty hard to stop our buddy Deadpool here from dying, to say the least. One thing that's not touched on in the movie very much, but maybe touched on sometime in the future, is that Deadpool has a pretty long-standing run with Death. When I say a long-standing run with Death, I mean like actual Death. He has a relationship with her. In the Marvel Universe, Death is an actual person, well, kind of a being. He's pretty hot. And also, you know, since he can't die, it's the ultimate like tease. So they seem to have a pretty cool relationship, usually. So yeah. Anyways, the review of the actual movie, I'd say that the film itself is pretty awesome. I definitely recommend it. When it comes out on Blu-ray or on Redbox and that kind of stuff, you have to definitely check it out. Character-wise, I think the cast is pretty well done. I have a picture of what I'm going to see here. I'm going to show you guys a few things on my end. If you find it. Yeah, so there's a couple things I think are pretty awesome. So here's a list of the characters here. I think they're all pretty cool. So we have Deadpool, douchebags, and heroes. This is a pretty solid list. So yeah, Miranda Baccarin, who you might have seen in a few other things, namely Gotham, pretty recently. She is gorgeous in the film, by the way, and has a great personality. Some real spark there. So it makes it pretty dynamic between her and Deadpool. I gotta say that it's a pretty cool scene. Yeah, but her, she plays Vanessa Carsell, who's basically a prostitute. She's like a quality lady of the night. And Wade Wilson meets her, and they have a pretty ongoing relationship. Wade Wilson being a mercenary who pretty much goes to a bar where they do shady things and also make some interesting plans on who's gonna die first, which they call the Deadpool. So everyone in the bar chooses when they they choose a time for where they think that there's someone in the bar is gonna die, and they have an ongoing bet going on who's gonna die first, which is where you get the Deadpool name from. So yeah, you got the right side there, all the heroes, and the left side is the douchebags, the villains. Some pretty solid roles. I mean, to be honest, the film itself had some pretty simple moments. As far as script structure goes, it's not, you know, groundbreaking stuff, but it's executed really well. They do some pretty good job with a lot of creative characters and the jokes in the film. T.J. Miller as Weasel, he's pretty deadpan. Kind of reminds me of what's her face from the Thor movies. Some pretty deadpan humor, really straightforward stuff. The Leslie Uggams, who plays Blind Owl, she's pretty she's a pretty cool twist in the film. So basically, you know, here's a spoiler moment where Deadpool is living with a blind woman who has some kind of cocaine addiction. And they're living together and hanging out. So it's pretty interesting the way they play off each other. Definitely some pretty cool moments in there. The film has a lot of, you know, foul humor and that kind of stuff, but it does it really well. You also have Colossus.
Oh, you think darkness is
Charlie 54-32198. Welcome to the Legion of Doom, my friend. Guys, so welcome to the stream. I'm doing my podcast review of Deadpool. Right now, we're just talking about the overall character scale. So they did kind of balance out the two sides. You have Jed Reeds, the recruiter. You see on the left side here. He basically does a lot of things. A lot of things that you would think I don't know how much he gets paid for him in the film. They basically have him, recruiting people and telling them that they're going to become a superhero, which I think is one of the darkest moments of the film itself. Is Wade Wilson figuring out that it's not going to actually happen. So basically, the general synopsis for the film is that Deadpool, Wade Wilson, he finds out he has cancer, and at that point, he decides that he wants to leave his girlfriend there and go on a search to become a superhero. Basically, this guy Jed Reeds, the recruiter, he finds Deadpool and offers him a solution to his problem. Of course, the solution ends up being Weapon X, and they lie to him and tell him he's gonna become a hero. When really they were just planning on him becoming a slave they can sell off to the highest bidder. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting storyline. I think they did pretty well. They didn't shy away from how to create the origin story. Deadpool was not a pretty looking guy. He's pretty fucking ugly. Charles, you have a question. What's the question, my friend? Ask away. So yeah, basically yeah. When it comes to Deadpool, he's a pretty anti-hero type of character. He kind of reminds me of Spawn. There's some good moments and some dark moments. He's done some bad things, but he's also got a somewhat of a heart of gold to a certain extent. So yeah, Jed Reeds, he's got his thing going down. I'll put my webcam back up here. I'll put it right between the douchebags and heroes section right here, right between Deadpool. There you go. So yeah, so basically, there's a few things in there that I think that are pretty awesome. Here, we put it right there. You can kind of see their face. So yeah, basically, the two sides, they're pretty balanced out. So Jed Reed's the recruiter. He tells Wade Wilson that, hey, you have cancer. You have a way to stop your cancer from continuing here, and also save your life and make you a superhero. Like you see these Avengers out here and these X-Men out here doing their thing. This could be you if you just go ahead and let us run these tests on you. Yeah, so Deadpool, he decides to go with it. He becomes horribly disfigured. The process that they use for the Weapon X functionality is pretty interesting. It's a little bit different than the way they designed it for the comics. I'm gonna go over that a little bit more after I go through the rest of the review. But it was kind of an interesting twist on how they used it in the film, and it worked out pretty well as far as the origin goes. So I'll mention that a little bit later on in the review as well. As far as the rest of the cast goes, I said they all did a pretty good job. What's her face here? Gina Carano. She's like, doesn't really have much speaking roles at all. Like in the film, there's not much really much talk going on there. So, most of the cast they kind of just play the role. It's kind of like just bit parts. There's not like any dynamic, really hard hitting script writing going on there. Ed Skrein, who plays Ajax, or Francis as they call him in the film, he's kind of got some good lines, and I'd say they definitely built him up into being a solid villain by the end of the movie. So Deadpool overall, I'd say it's definitely worth watching. Just don't go into it expecting like a ton of ridiculous, over plotted, convoluted story. It's pretty straightforward. It's from like beginning to end. It kind of reminds me of like Mad Max as far as like that goes. There are a few gripes in there I'm gonna mention as I go through the review here, but overall, I'd say the movie's done pretty well. They have some pretty good moments in there. The action's pretty solid. The one thing I will gripe on about the action is that it is a bit scarce considering the movie, the type of movie it is. Like this movie kind of reminds me of like Shoot 'Em Up and a few other films. Because it's fast paced, straight to the point, bang bang, pow pow. But with Deadpool, the action is a little bit scarce at moments. It felt like the movie kind of went fast and there wasn't enough complete action there. You know what I mean? I wish there was a little bit more to latch on to as far as the action goes. They had a really awesome intro action scene, which was done in a pretty hilarious way. But it slows down a bit after that, and they go to the origin story, which is nice. It actually is done pretty cool. They have like some moments there that are kind of like a horror movie, and then the film even mentions that, which is pretty cool. But then it's kind of like a chase from like the beginning to end, and there's a lot of good moments in there, and the script is really well done as far as like keeping the pace going between the two, like the taxi driver and Deadpool's humor. It bounces off really well, but action wise, I'd say it's kind of skimpy on action. Like when I look back at it now, you have like the main action scene at the beginning of the movie, which was well done, but it was a pretty long scene. And then you've got the slight action scene in the Weapon X facility, and then you've got the scene where he's chasing down the bad guy. Then after that, you've got pretty much a breakdown. It's like just the final climax there at the end, which I know is a lot to ask for in a movie like Deadpool, but at the same time, it's a movie like Deadpool, so there's a lot of blood, action, and violence. You kind of get used to that. So I would say that as far as action scenes, I kind of wish there was like at least one more scene in there somewhere between the main antagonist or something like that, leading into the last fight, or at least something else that kind of builds up what Deadpool can do, because you get a lot of plays on like the sword action. They have like a pretty large scene of him using his guns at the beginning of the movie, but after that, there's a bit of a bounce back, and they have him using more of his swords and other things there. It's a pretty cool like character. I gotta say that Ryan Reynolds does a fucking awesome job. If you guys like Ryan Reynolds, or you thought that he was just a terrible actor after watching shitty films like Green Lantern, he's gonna prove you wrong with this one. He does a great job with this movie. Thanks for the host, Bear. How old's the Destiny? But yeah, so I'd say that overall, Deadpool, I definitely enjoyed the film. There's a few nicks here and there, but there's some great moments too. The way they play off of each other with the X-Men characters, and making sure that that Deadpool was kind of his own thing. He's not the kind of character you're gonna want to bring to a Avengers kid party or something for charity. He's foul-mouthed. There's some pretty awesome jokes in there as well. But overall, I'd say the film itself is pretty solid. I'm gonna go through some more detail of like as far as like things that might be spoilery. I want to give you guys kind of an overview of the movie as a whole. It's pretty fast paced, some good humor. If you've got kind of like a foul mouth or you like the kind of humor, you're gonna probably enjoy the movie. It's excessively violent. One thing I will say that pissed me off. One thing that kind of pissed me off though, all right, was I was at the movie theater, guys, watching Deadpool, and this family came in. Guys. All right, I'm talking like they had like two like 5 or 6 year olds come into the movie with like a baby in a stroller. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? I know you saw the rated R there. You saw the rated R on the damn tickets. I know you saw them. Why are your kids here? So, in case you guys didn't know, spoilers, there's boobies and ass. There's Ryan Reynolds ass in this movie, guys. Okay? Ryan Reynolds ass. So, those kids are probably subjected to that, guys. Okay? So of course, like, the baby's screaming because there's like fucking gunshots going off all throughout the film. I'm like, what is going on here? What are you doing, family? Anyways, I'm not gonna rant on that for too long, but just know that if you're a parent, and you're gonna bring your kids to a movie like Deadpool. They couldn't afford a sitter, then they can't afford to go to the movie. You don't bring like your 4-year-old to go see Deadpool when he's like shooting people in the face. Siren, thank you for stopping by. The movie's more expensive than the sitter. Exactly. You can't pay for a babysitter for like 2 hours. Like, come on now. But you don't need to go see the film. Like that pissed me off. I'm like, look, these kids in here are like 4 or 5. You got this baby in here screaming because he's like, oh shit, someone's shooting. Like, Deadpool's like, comparing himself to a scrotum. I'm sure they don't even know what that is, but I'm just saying. Sitter or Deadpool, tough choice. You're right. So I got a Twitch chat going on the screen for my next cast, so you guys can see what they're saying on screen for people that watch the recording. But yeah, so basically that kind of annoyed me. But of course they ended up leaving the theater because, duh, like they kind of keep the kids there. There are boobs and other things being shown during the film. There's a strip club scene and all this other stuff. But overall, yeah, like I was saying before, there are like some moments there you can kind of squeeze in, as being, I don't know, kind of like, some people probably won't like it, but the humor overall was pretty good, I'd say. They kind of read the thin line there, but it was done. It kind of reminded me of how Superbad was, when it first came out. Like you couldn't watch Superbad a ton of times for the humor, but it was pretty outrageous the first time you saw it. Like, or like The Hangover. You're like, oh shit, they put this in the movie. It's kind of the same thing with Deadpool. It's kind of like the same feel to it. Like there's some pretty raunchy jokes. Really, J Lad? Wow. We had mass power outages once, so everyone in Delaware went to a movie theater. Well, that's crazy. But I mean, if they went to the movie theater because they had no power, that's one thing. But these people probably had power. They just didn't care. But yeah, so we have that. Deadpool overall, I'd say it's definitely worth seeing. If you can't catch it in theaters, I don't think it's one of those movies where you have to see in theaters. Like I saw Mad Max in theaters, and I'd say I'm better off for it. Um, it's still a great film on Blu-ray, but having experience in the theater was awesome. Now, as far as like seeing it with people, I think Deadpool was definitely one of the movies you could see with like a large crowd, a full theater, and then it'd be hilarious, it'd be a great time. But is it necessary? No. I'd say you could probably still catch it on Blu-ray and enjoy it, when it comes out afterwards. But if you're used to if you've been looking for a good superhero movie to watch for a while now, totally go for it. I'd say it's definitely worth the money. You can go catch a matinee. I'd say it's definitely worth a full price visit to the theater to catch just something that's completely different from every other superhero movie we've had. Really, the most you kind of get with like as far as ultra violent superheroes go is like Wolverine, which is always taking itself too seriously, so it doesn't really count. And then you've got Blade, who hasn't been had a movie since like '97, not '97, like 2000, 2005 ish. So I'd say like it's kind of a balance. So Deadpool kind of plays with both sides. Like there's some pretty cool humor, but also some dark moments mixed in together, and they kind of close them together into one film. They make fun of some pretty funny moments there. Green Lantern, how terrible it was. Ryan Reynolds has had some interesting roles, but I can't really put it on him. Like Green Lantern has some script issues and all kind of other stuff going on there. And then of course Wolverine Origins was fucking terrible, guys. I hate that movie. So yeah, between the two of those, there's clearly some problems there that they want to make fun of, and I will say that Deadpool breaking the fourth wall, is done really well. They have some pretty cool moments in there where he's talking to the audience, and he's mentioning X-Men and that kind of thing. It's pretty well done. I also like the feel of the film overall because they mixed in some awesome moments with the X-Men as well, and so it's starting to feel like a cohesive universe, which gets me excited because when you talk about a universe, you talk about Deadpool and X-Men and Wolverine. I started thinking like X-Force, and I would love an X-Force movie. If you guys don't know about X-Force, like it's like having a mercenary team made of mutants. Basically, let's see if I can find a picture of you guys. Uncanny X-Men, they're pretty sweet, pretty sweet characters. So here's what the Uncanny X-Men would look like. You guys like Wolverine, you got like Deadpool, Psylocke, Archangel, like just badass. And then you could throw in Cable in there as well. So like they're pretty badass team. Uncanny X-Force is the most recent one, the team. But there's some pretty cool moments in there. I feel like that'd be a pretty smart move on their part if they make X-Force happen. You can get some cool stuff. We have Wolverine, you got Archangel, you got Deadpool, you got Cable, you got Psylocke, you got Domino. There's some pretty cool characters you put into a franchise together, and you'd be able to put together a pretty cool team. Kind of like Suicide Squad, but they're mutants. First before anything. I didn't mind Origins, but Deadpool sucked in it. Well, Origins, I guess it just depends on like how big of a comic fan you are. But Origins, like the only thing that was pretty good about Origins to me was Sabretooth. Like that was like the only thing that was like okay for me in that movie. Which I can't think of his name right now, but he's in Ray Donovan. He did a pretty good job with what he was given for that film. But everything else though, like the time continuity issues, you had like Cyclops in there, like he was like 10 years old, but yet somehow he's like it was just so all over the place. Just the timeline was fucking terrible. They had like Cyclops and like the White Queen, Emma Frost. They had them like they looked like they were like 12 years old, but yet Cyclops' brother is like in the next film and is grown as hell, but yet he's something. It didn't make any sense. It was all over the place. They have Cyclops' brother in first class, as a grown man, he's like a late teenager, but Cyclops is his older brother. So explain to me how Cyclops is the older brother, but yet he doesn't exist yet in the timeline. So basically, they retconned his the entire timeline there, and somehow it's just too much. I can't go into it now, guys. It's like there's no like X-Men like timeline and all that shit. Just the franchise has messed it up pretty heavily. Yeah, Lee Schreiber. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, he's a pretty cool actor. I'll say he did a pretty good job. So yeah, so look at the cast list here. We have a few other characters. So Ajax, who is basically the professor, the doctor who works on Deadpool, and then becomes the main antagonist for the film. So here's where we go into some of the spoilerific stuff for the review. I'd say that Ajax overall, he's a pretty cool character. His kind of mutant ability, he doesn't feel any pain. As he says himself, he doesn't feel anything. I don't know if that means like emotionally or if that means something else there, but he feels no pain basically. So it makes it a pretty interesting dynamic between him and Deadpool. Deadpool can't be killed basically, and Ajax, who is not able to feel anything at all. So he still gets hurt. He still bleeds, but he doesn't feel it. Yeah, he's pretty strong. Also, I'd say on the hero side, Colossus is done pretty well. Basically, he's mostly CGI, and it somewhat shows, but overall, I think the quality of Colossus was pretty well done. There wasn't like moments where I'm like, okay, this looks really fake. I think they did a pretty good job with the CGI with him, and it was nice to see him as an actual hero in the film as well. Uh, so yeah, as I was saying before, the universe that they're creating right now of X-Men is balanced pretty well. If they, I don't, I can't, I'm not sold on Apocalypse yet, unfortunately. Like X-Men Apocalypse, I can't say that it's good. It's gonna be good. I don't get the feeling from it. The vibe is gonna be like those Fantastic Four vibes right now. So I'm not sure about that one. But despite that, I will say that the universe they're kind of trying to create now could actually succeed. Deadpool did a great job of showing kind of like how X-Men, kind of coexist in the same universe. And Deadpool wants no part of it. He's like, look, I'm not an X-Men. You and the bald guy in the wheelchair, you guys are asking me to come out here and, save people and all this stuff, Instead, how about I just kill them so they don't keep coming back? So that's Deadpool's logic. He's like, you know what? You guys want to stop these people from, assaulting us and mutants and villains and everything else. I would just put a bullet in their head and they won't come back at all. So of course, Colossus is like, no, you can't do that. We don't just kill people. Well, there's your conundrum because that's what Deadpool wants to do. So when I say anti-hero, you definitely get an anti-hero from Deadpool. He's not just the regular hero you're used to seeing in most of these films. So Deadpool was not in the Weapon X program. Basically, yes, he is, but the way they do it in the movie is a little bit different. So I'm gonna go over that now. It's gonna be a little bit spoilery if you haven't seen the film yet. But basically, as far as like as far as the timeline goes, they enroll him in the program, but the way that it affects his body is different. So according to like the way that Ajax explains it in the film, keep in mind I saw the movie about 2-3 weeks ago, so it's all a little bit fuzzy. But from what I remember from what he said in the film, Ajax, who is the professor, the doctor who basically works on the patients in the film, he brings up the mutant part of them. So basically, according to Ajax, who's on the left side of my screen there, what they do in the program is they bring out the hidden like like I can't even think of the word for it right now, but they bring out the recessive mutant gene inside of someone's DNA, and they harvest that gene to create, a new mutant. And then depending on what kind of mutant gene or power they have, ability, they finesse them and then they turn them into slaves, basically. So they told Deadpool that he was basically joining a superhero team. They were gonna have him become a superhero, when really they're just trying to harvest his power and then put like one of these chains on his neck to control him, and then send him off to the highest bidder. So like warring countries and that kind of stuff, and have them use him as basically just a human weapon. So basically, the only way to bring out this gene. Yeah, do you think that the gene is a crapshoot until it's activated? Yeah, exactly. It's pretty much like kind of how like, the Inhumans are created. Like you basically have to touch the element and be affected by the mist, and then you become whatever you're supposed to be. It's the same thing here. Like the receptive genes themselves are like, it's you don't know what the fuck's gonna happen until it actually happens. So like when the gene is activated, who knows? You might die. Something might happen where you're not exposed to it. So for Deadpool, he originally had an issue with he had cancer, which is the main dynamic part of this of the entire film. The reason why he leaves his his girlfriend and everything else is because of the cancer. So they forced the mutation through torture, like Corbett was saying there. So basically, they force the mutation, the receptive gene, out due to excessive trauma. So the more trauma that someone feels, the more chances of that gene to actually come out. It's a fight or flight response. So like when you're about to die, basically, some of the genes that are built to help you survive start to activate. So the only way to get that to work is to fucking torture you until that gene actually happens. So of course no one tells Wade Wilson this before he signs up for the program. They just tell him, we're gonna make you a superhero. So of course they torture him. They all kind of crazy shit to him, basically getting to the point of almost dying. It becomes pretty sadistic. So yes, basically it unlaunches the receptive gene in Deadpool's DNA, which gives him an extremely ridiculous healing factor. It heals so quickly that he basically it's ridiculous. So basically he can't die. One thing that's tricky about it though is that he still has the cancer. So basically, a terrible side effect of the actual gift of the mutation is that it keeps the cancer from killing him, but it also completely disfigures him completely. Like the cancer cells mutate, and his skin and everything else changes, and so he becomes more of a monster, as he says in the film. He's not the same guy as far as looks go, and so he's afraid to show his face to Vanessa, who you see on the right side there. He doesn't want to show his face to her anymore because of how he looks. So he's convinced that Ajax, the one on the left side, can actually save him or make him look the way he did before. So he goes on this crazy headhunt, tracking down anyone who's attached to Francis or Ajax, as he's called himself, trying to find a solution for how to get his face look the way it's supposed to again. Which is pretty delusional in itself. I mean, like his body, what you guys see in the film, he looks pretty fucked up. But you know what? I like that part of the film that they didn't shy away from that. It was like a horror movie. Like he's not the boyish looking superhero. He's not Captain America. He's not, Thor. He's not Chris Hemsworth. He doesn't have, the looks going on there. He's not a looker. So you have a character who is badass and looks ugly as shit. But he's still a cool character. I think people are gonna latch onto that part of the film because it shows kind of like you can be someone different and still do some awesome things. Like I like that he's not the average looking superhero. He's got some cool defects to his personality and everything else there. And it's cool in my opinion. I thought it'd be more violent, to be honest. Well, that's what I was saying earlier. As far as like the action goes, I thought there would be some more moments in there, but I feel like they weren't pushing it too hard. It is rated R for a reason, but it didn't go excessive. Like it didn't go as excessive as I thought it was gonna go. There were some crazy moments in there, like the cutting off hand scene there. And a few other moments that were just kind of they kind of cringy. But overall, It wasn't anything like just overly excessive to the point in which I haven't seen it before. Like, I've been watching some movies like The Raid and a few other movies where it's just in your face action nonstop. I'd say there were some. It was pretty much you know what you expect from a rated R action movie about a man with guns and swords. So yeah, I'd say it was probably up there violence wise. It was probably close to like like John Wick, that kind of movie. Speaking of John Wick 2 got greenlit for next year around February. So I see that they basically are saying, hey, you know what? That was a good time of year to drop a rated R film when there's no competition. Make it a pretty good date movie. So John Wick 2 is coming out next year around the same time that Deadpool 1 dropped. So I gotta say, as far as marketing goes, they did a great job of marketing with this film. Some really cool viral stuff. I showed some of the video stuff earlier from Deadpool, and also showed a bit of the trailer stuff. They did a pretty good job of marketing the movie, and it shows throughout the film as well. Kind of like some of the cool moments they put in there. So that was a smart move on their part. They did make some nods to being a date movie for Valentine's Day. And if you're if your boyfriend bought you this movie, you were expecting some kind of our average superhero movie, it's not what you're gonna get here. So there were some cool moments in there that they kind of led to eventually as well. The nudity was unnecessary. Yeah, I'd say it's a rated R film, so you kind of expect a little bit of booby action every once in a time. I didn't need to see Ryan Reynolds' ass, but you see enough boobs on rated R films that it's fine. Like I'm not gonna complain. The girls need something too. Yeah, Ryan he did put a lot into this one, but at the same time, that was he had to lose. You know what I mean? Like Ryan Reynolds, he doesn't have much to lose when it comes to notoriety or anything, because really, if you put your all into this kind of character, you become iconic with that character. Like they tie it to you forever, which is what was going to happen. Like you can't replace Ryan Reynolds now as Deadpool. So you kind of have to go with it. Like they can replace him as Green Lantern, which was fucking terrible, but now that it was actually a success, people are gonna want Ryan Reynolds. They're gonna want him in that movie if you trying to use Deadpool again. And since it did, ridiculous numbers, it's the highest rated rated R weekend ever for a film, rated R film. So it's blown every expectation out of the water that people had for it, and for rightfully so. I mean, it's a pretty cool film. I definitely recommend it. I just feel like, without grabbing on it too hard, there are just a few moments that are like, I feel like they're more towards like the like high school crowd who were probably like sneaking into the movie. Like a couple of jokes, but there were some pretty cool moments you probably won't ever see in another film. That you can say you saw in Deadpool. So those moments are pretty awesome. Like they have a couple of throw-in scenes in there with the X-Men, which is like Colossus and like they're just like eating breakfast and they go and get in the Quinjet and take a little flight over to see what the hell Deadpool's up to. Like those cool little moments there, they actually do add some cool stuff to the film. Like it makes it feel like a tied universe. Like they're like Colossus is watching the news and he's like, oh, look at Deadpool fucking in the middle of a murder spree right now on the news. I'm gonna get the Quinjet real quick and fly over there and see what's going on. Like that was pretty cool. Um, as far as Negasonic Teenage Warhead, we can talk about her a little bit. So she didn't have too many lines in the film. She has some pretty cool powers. Also, the X suit she's wearing, I actually really love. I like the X suit. The actual X-Men suit she's got on. I wish they used something that simple for the actual fucking films, like the X-Men movies, instead of using like all this like ridiculous armor. Like, have you guys seen like the X-Men, like the X-Men Apocalypse costumes? Let me see if I can find that because it's pretty fucking atrocious. Like, it makes me hurt inside. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Like some of the things they had planned for the X-Men Apocalypse stuff. Cause I was like, what the hell is this? Like, let me see if I can find a bigger image of it. Oh, here we go. All right, so here's. Let me see if I can make it bigger. I think I have a picture of it somewhere else. But the actual like picture of the they look stupid as hell. Like it's like I can't. It's just too leathery mixture. It looks like a Fantastic Four. Just bad. I don't know. Like, but you see the costume she has on right there. I can dig it. I think it's not bad. It's simple, but it is not overdoing it. Like the costume color is good. She has like a little egg symbol on the side of her shirt there on the shoulder, and it balances out well. We got the stripper in the bar scene. Exactly, there's a stripper in the bar scene. It paid off. I'm seeing one boob, I'm seeing them all. Yeah, I guess so. Friend was telling me they wanted to make this years ago, but they wanted it to be like Wolverine. Well, basically, they Fox had plans for Deadpool before, but of course the character bombed so bad with Origins, and it did not work out very well. And so they did some test screening, and some test shots for the film, and someone leaked the test shot of the movie with Ryan Reynolds in the costume and everything, and it ended up being pretty cool. So people latched onto it. They started committing to it, tweeting it out. You think about it, like this really started happening like 2 years ago, like less than 2 years ago, and like now we have a full length film. It's kind of crazy. Like people were campaigning for Deadpool, and then suddenly it happened after enough. So your voices do matter. Like I said, that's one cool thing about it. Like when it comes to the way things work now, for better or worse, like people complaining on Twitter or latching on to campaigns, it does actually matter now. Like these things are not a game. Like you can get film started off of like just a few tweets, if you put enough time with it. So that definitely shows with this movie. So I'd say like overall, good film. There's a few moments in there like that are kind of but there's some awesome love story moments in there too. Like you don't get a movie like this where it has like a mixture of love story, a badass character, some funny moments between him and like the blind woman as well. There's some good stuff that you won't see other places. Like look at this picture here. I just found this picture. Hold on. So like here's a picture of them in the apartment together. Him and the blind woman here. I'll pull it up on screen if I can. So there's a picture of them together. Just living the life. So yeah, like there's some cool moments in there where it feels like you're watching just a unique film, like an individual film that you're not gonna see anywhere else. And so I give them credit for that because this film definitely has that feeling to it, like it's something one of a kind, and it shows. Here's a picture of him and Vanessa towards the end of the film. So like you don't really get this kind of movie very often. So I'd say like overall, because of that, it definitely adds to the flavor of the movie itself. And it shows. It kind of reminds me of like one of those one-off movies like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, where like you're not gonna get too many movies like this ever. People are gonna try and copy it now because it did successful, but they don't have the background that Deadpool does to pull it off. That's the New Mutants costume. Yeah, Steve. That's what I'm saying though. Like, I prefer like the simplistic outfits compared to what they did with the X-Men movies stuff. Just, I wish it was just a little bit different. Xavier looks like an Agent 47. Yeah, exactly. The baby hand was a pretty funny scene. So yeah, this is some pretty funny movie scenes in there that I think are done really well. Marketing was great. I showed a little bit of the marketing earlier. They've been pitching this movie since Christmas time, like Thanksgiving. So you've been seeing Deadpool around, and it's shown. It paid off. Everyone came out to the theater to see it. Yeah. So some of my gripes, yeah, like we went over like the mutant gene thing. It was a little bit of a change from his origin, but it still works out pretty well. In the actual origin, they gave him Wolverine's healing factor. Except his is even more fucking ridiculous. In this one, he bursts his own healing factor out of his mutant recessive gene, and it ends up mutating his entire body and all this other stuff. But the scene was pretty cool. People were talking about seeing Ryan Reynolds slong, in that scene. I'm like, I don't know how you were watching for his balls, While he's like, there's a scene where like Ryan is like in a chamber and it sets on fire and everything else, and he's fighting with Ajax, pretty much naked. And I'm like, you guys are perving for that one scene. Like this one freaking scene with Ryan with naked Ryan Reynolds is just crazy. Here's a picture of the actual containment unit he was in. That's what it looks like right there. So basically, it was a pretty crazy scene, but it sounded like it was pretty awful. The way to describe the scene itself, it's like basically being brought to the point of death. In which case, like they take all the oxygen out of the fucking room, out of that containment unit he's in, and he can't breathe. But he can't. It's just enough. They put just enough oxygen in there for him to come back, basically, and stay alive. But that's pretty much it. So he's constantly fucking gasping for air. It sounds fucking awful. I would never wish that on my worst enemy. I like the idea of like suffocating is awful to me. So they put him in that chamber room until finally he transforms. And so it's a pretty crazy scene. So if you're into like horror elements, horror movies, there's some good stuff in there for you as well. And I think the only movie I can really compare it to as far as like that goes is Spawn. Like I say, like as far as like origin goes and like overall story and some other stuff, like it's kind of like Spawn to me. You have a protagonist there who has like a love of his life, wants to get back to you. He's disgusted by his own appearance, wants to get changed back into who he was before. Goes on a killing spree, fights an evil villain. It's pretty straightforward as far as that goes, but there's some pretty cool moments along the way. Good humor, just smart stuff. Yeah, forcing the change. Yeah. So I'd say like I would say like there's still room for another Spawn film if they do it right. So I can see that kind of branch off into its own thing. Um, yeah, overall Ryan Reynolds does a great job. I'd say that the rest of the cast, Ajax, he's a pretty solid villain. They have some decent moves in there. They call him the British villain in the actual film. It's pretty much what it is. He's like he just got the British charm of like oh I'm evil, I don't feel anything, kind of thing. Whatever. So like, I mean, it's strong enough for the movie because he comes off as a pretty cocky, douchebag, and it shows. Is like, you kind of start feeling like Deadpool. You kind of get the Deadpool kind of like feel to yourself when you're watching the movie. Like Deadpool's pretty laid back, and then this smug ass British guy comes in here, telling him how he's an idiot and how he's still alive and blah blah blah. You want him dead. You're like, oh no, fuck that. You want him to fucking die. So it does a pretty good job with that as far as the script goes. So, good moments. Marina Baccarin, I say like she did a great job, making you care about the characters as well. Like I say, like she's got kind of like the role of playing the love interest for Deadpool. So you gotta be a little bit weird because like Deadpool was weird, and so they do some pretty weird stuff together. That's for sure in the movie. How many times did Deadpool talk to the camera? A couple times. I say, he mentioned like X-Men, like how they were, they didn't have enough budget to keep more X-Men in the movie, so they only had two. And like, a CGI mansion. It was some pretty good stuff in there. So I say he talked to him a couple times, mostly during the beginning of the movie, and also a few times during the flashback scenes. So it balanced out pretty well. I think that overall, for us people who like are nerds or watch comic movies, I'd say like the movie itself, I'd say is probably like a solid B plus. Because it's not really anything groundbreaking as far as what we're used to seeing from the character or with like kind of the world he's in. Like the violence and stuff like that. Like action scenes are done pretty well, but they're also not like, in my opinion, they weren't like groundbreaking kind of stuff. Like the main action scene at the beginning was pretty cool, but unfortunately they showed half of that in the trailer originally, so they kind of killed the hype for that one. The final scene was decent. The final action scene was solid, but it wasn't like anything to write home to mom about. You know what I mean? There was some cool moments in there with the sword and axe fighting and all that kind of stuff with Ajax, but there wasn't like a dynamic scene there that I feel like was really like oh shit, they took it there. You know, like I didn't get that moment from the film. So as far as action goes, I'd say they did so much. There's so much good stuff with the overall humor, the script, you know, and just the flow of the film that it was done really well. But the action scenes, I feel like they could have put a little bit more in there. Either a mixture of a few things that would have made it a little bit better overall. But you know, it's just me kind of nitpicking a little bit. I'd say like I would have liked to have a quintessential scene that was kind of more. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. Like the actual intro was done really well, but I felt they could have leaned a little bit more towards the action side in the film a little bit. I just read most of the comics during the DoomCast. Not really. Yeah, the opening was the leak footage. Yeah, exactly. It's like the opening was like the test footage, leak footage. So you kind of seen so much of that already, and it was done really well. But I wish there was like another scene I could say I could latch on to as far as the action goes that really draws you in. Like you know, they had some cool moments with his origins where they had him like you know trying on different costumes, and you know he mentions like how you know he wears red because of the blood, so bad guys can't see him bleed. They show those kind of moments in the actual movie. It's pretty cool how they show like him go through. I'd say like that's probably like another scene there that was pretty well done. Like watching him kind of create his costume, get together his guns, all that kind of stuff. It was done well. The origin was pretty solid. The origin was definitely done better than a lot of different origin stories I've seen in comics, comic movies. Well, I think for origin film it was really well done. Yeah, exactly. I'm saying like you know overall you make people care about a character that kills people. You're doing a pretty good job. Definitely a good movie. There's just a few scenes I'm like, like when I think like for example when I watched Captain America Winter Soldier, like the main knife fight between like Winter Soldier and Captain America when they met on the bridge. I haven't seen Winter Soldier since it came out in theaters, and I still remember that film. I just explained to you guys a second ago. Why? Because it was dynamic enough. It was like I remember that scene. It was like the scene for the film that did it for me. In Deadpool, I don't really have that like action scene that does it for me right here. I've seen the intro so many times, the intro to the movie. So like there wasn't another scene in there, movie like action wise, that really kind of tied together for me. Like when I watched that scene in Winter Soldier, I was like, oh shit, like someone might actually die in this one. Like you know what I mean? Like people were going, he was trying to take out Black Widow. He wasn't playing around. I didn't get that feeling from Deadpool. It wasn't like a sense of urgency there. Um, exactly. Like the knife to the head thing was pretty brutal, and it was pretty funny. Now, like as far as like memorable scenes, there's plenty of memorable scenes in the movie, just not action scenes. Like there's memorable, you know, humor and like some pretty cool, like funny moments, and also like just you know shock moments as well. Like and just seeing X Men like Colossus and you know Warhead, you know in the costume and everything, like that was cool. But like action scene wise, I say like it was kind of like but it made me excited for seeing more X Men. Like Warhead's powers are pretty cool. Just seeing her in that costume really did it for me. I was like, you know what, I'm feeling like you know Fox might actually be doing something right now. They got like you know costume on, and X Men are coming out soon. Everything's gonna be tied together again. They retcon X Men 3. They just pretend X Men 3 didn't happen at all. Things are looking up now. And then I watched like another trailer for X Men Apocalypse. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I can trust it. Yeah. You love digital comics? Yeah, I say I prefer having paper copies. I like to flip pages in most cases when it comes to comics, but it just kind of depends on the comic I'm reading. That I buy a lot of trade paperbacks now. A lot more of the overall um editions, so like a lot more heavy volumes and those kind of things. I usually buy more hardcovers, but not as much nowadays. So now, yeah, I lean more towards the mix of the two together. Um, I don't think if there's anything else I missed at all. Yeah, so but overall, movie's good. I'd say it's a solid. About my grade for it right now, I'd say it's a solid B plus. Would be good for me. It's not quite there. It's still like higher than a lot of other films going on this come out over this like past year. I'd say Deadpool was better than Avengers 2, in my opinion. I enjoyed Deadpool more than Avengers 2, which is, kind of rough to say, but to be honest, like, Avengers 2 was an okay movie. Deadpool at least did what it came out to do. It doesn't try and fool you. There's no fluff. Like Deadpool does exactly what you thought it would do. It's like it's a straightforward action movie from point A to point B. You know, has cancer, gets X Factor activated, becomes a superhero, save the girl, evil villain, kill the villain, get the girl. It's pretty simple, but it's done well. You know what I mean? Like it's executed well. The short script, low budget. Fox didn't give them a ton of money for this movie either, so I gotta give it up to them. They did a great job of what they did, what they had. Whereas Avengers 2 had like so much money attached to it, and it still ended up being just kind of an okay film. Um, yeah, the wall breaking was definitely well done. I'd say there was definitely some cool moments in there. Overall, you're not gonna get this kind of experience from another movie, which is the main reason why I have to give it a higher grade, based on more than just like film quality stuff. Because the film itself, a lot of stuff you see in this movie, you're not gonna see in another film. Like the fourth wall breaking, like just the kind of hero he is, or anti-hero really, which is really tied up in that last scene with Ajax or Francis. When Deadpool's like, "Fuck that, you're dead." Like there's no going back. Deadpool is not that kind of hero. So I'm glad they stuck to their guns with that, and they made it a protagonist, but he's not one that just kind of rolls over and dies. Like he goes through some different moments, and another thing I have to mention as well was that they did like play up the cancer side as well. Like I don't know what it feels like to go through cancer, but it's a nice parallel that they kind of played with. Like even though he got the cancer taken care of, he did still change as a person. Like overall. And he was afraid of like showing like the love of his life, what he looks like, despite the fact that she loved him and everything. Like there's some cool love story moments in there. There's some cool messages in there as well about like being yourself and all this other jazz. It's kind of deep for a film that's like an action movie. So yeah, I'd say B plus, solid. Um, Stan Lee scene made me chuckle as well. Yeah, Stan Lee's scene was pretty damn solid. You're right. Like Stan Lee DJing in there. I'm like, Stan, you're in here with these strippers. I wonder like how much he was doing with those strippers after the scene was over. Big up to Stan Lee though. I gotta give you a round of applause, Stan. All right, you're out here at the titty bar, hanging out with the youngins. Stan Lee is awesome, guys. Like I gotta give him some applause. But Stan, big ups to Stan. It's gonna be crazy when Stan Lee goes. Like I hope he lives a long life, but he's old, guys. I hope to meet him one day at a con or something like that. But yeah, it's gonna be a pretty crazy day when he actually passes away at some point. Is a new Deadpool worth watching? Yes. So basically, I'd say yeah, definitely. Is Stellan Skarsgård in this movie? No, he's not. He's still attached to the Marvel films. So you might see him in Thor. Stan Lee is cemented in the film history now. Yeah, he's pretty much a mainstay for all the movies. Z-Con, English, please, my friend. English. Are you Swedish? No, I'm not Swedish, Hobby Turk. I was talking Z-Con. In which case, no. Well, welcome to the stream, guys. So yeah, so that was my Deadpool review. Basically, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. As far as like overall film goes, I say it was awesome. Definitely go check it out. Give it a try. Some pretty cool cast members. I didn't really touch about Gina Carano. She basically just plays her part as like the goon. So yeah, she's the muscle there. There's a scene between her and Colossus where she punches him in the balls. And his metallic balls. It was pretty funny. So yeah, I'd say definitely worth seeing, guys. Check it out sometime. Definitely worth the time of day. Show it some love. Here's a full costume as well for the X-Men suit. I'd say it looks pretty solid. I mean, it's pretty simple. The actress did her job. So I'd say like I wouldn't mind like an X suit that's just simple. Give me some yellow with an X patch on one side or something like that. you know, I can dig it. You know, nothing too crazy, no ridiculous leather, you know, super armored out nonsense. Just keep it simple with a little egg stuff on there. It looked great on film. I liked it. You're a beast, my man. Well, thank you. Red Eye's time to take his place as Deadpool. I mean, I don't know if you can take his place. He's kind of unkillable. So you might be out of luck there. So before we move on, guys, because I'm gonna actually prepare for another cast. I'm gonna be doing some Castlevania Lords of Shadow tonight as well. Because you guys voted for that movie, well that movie for that game. I'll be playing some Castlevania Lords of Shadow in a little bit. But before we go there, I'm gonna show you guys a couple other things. One of them being the newest trailer for Daredevil. If you guys don't know, I'm a pretty big Daredevil fan anyway, especially the comic book. But a new trailer dropped for Daredevil the other day. Actually, yeah, a day ago. So I'm gonna show you guys the newest trailer for Daredevil as well. You guys looking forward to Daredevil and the Punisher, Elektra, and those kind of characters. The actual new season of Daredevil drops March 18th, so a few more weeks, right before Batman vs Superman actually. So it's gonna be pretty pumped up time. Yeah, English please, Econ. Like we don't understand. So I'm gonna show you guys the trailer for Deadpool. Not for Deadpool. For Daredevil. You guys let me know what you think. We're gonna talk a little bit about Daredevil as well at the end of this cast here, and then we'll get ready for some Castlevania. So thanks for hanging out, guys. I appreciate it. Let me pull it up now for you guys. Let me know what you guys think. I think it looks pretty awesome.
Would you believe it if I said I missed you?
No.
I need your help, Matthew. You're the only person I can trust.
Oh, sweetheart, you don't break into my house and then talk to me about trust. What do you want from me?
You fight better than anyone I know. And I have information. The Yakuza never left.
That's impossible. I drove them out of New York City.
No, you didn't. They just hibernated and watched you take out all of their enemies. Now, New York is ripe for the taking.
If we do this, nobody dies. Do you understand?
Hungry?
Every time I walk up those stairs, I wonder if today's the day you're dead in your living room.
There are horrible things happening in this city. I'm done apologizing to you for who I am. The city needs me.
This isn't your city anymore.
My way isn't working. What if that never has?
The battle has begun, Matthew. There's nothing we can do but fight.
They're called the Hand.
You cannot stop what we have started.
The rising is coming.
You've been working out, by the way. I appreciate that.
There you go. There was the trailer for Deadpool. Well, keep calling it Deadpool. Daredevil. God damn it. All right, guys. So yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to the show. I think I'm gonna probably do some rundown of the Daredevil action as well. But should be pretty fun. It's been a great stream so far, guys. Thank you for hanging out. I'm gonna take like a little short break here. We're gonna get ready for Castlevania. So thank you guys for being around for the first episode of the podcast. We're hoping to have some more episodes. I'll be making some tweaks as well to this help the format and having some guests on at some point. Some more music and all that kind of jazz. But it was basically just an intro episode. We're gonna get started with the podcast. So we'll do some more stuff as well. Too many D's. Yeah, exactly. Twitch. You understand me. So yeah, we'll be doing some more stuff with the podcast pretty soon. I have some plans. I'm gonna do a full breakdown of 2016 as far as movies go. What to look forward to pretty soon, probably on the next podcast, which will be about 2 weeks from now. So thanks for sticking around. We're gonna be doing some other stuff as well. Hopefully, a TV show breakdown after the Flash, Arrow, and some other stuff ends pretty soon. Agent Carter, Agent of Shield. I'll do a breakdown of those shows as well. So I gotta catch up with some shows. Hopefully, I have some guests by then as well. So if you guys are down for some appearances on the podcast, let me know. I'll make some changes. We'll try to make some appearances as well on the podcast. It should be pretty fun. But thank you guys for hanging out. It was pretty chill. I'm gonna just put my podcast off here in a moment here, and then I'm gonna get ready for Castlevania. So I'll be playing that for a couple hours. We're playing one of the newest Castlevania's Lord of Shadow, which is one of the remakes. Not really a remake, kind of like its own thing. It's kind of like God of War and those kind of games. But you guys voted for that. So we're going to be playing that tonight for a few hours. Every Friday will be kind of like this. We'll be doing either some podcast stuff or some individual creative stuff with variety streaming. So I'll be playing a bunch of different games. Saturday night, which is tomorrow, we'll be doing some fighting game action with Street Fighter 5. So if you guys are down for that as well, come by again sometime. We'll be able to hang out there and enjoy some salt together. You guys already know how I get with fighting games, so you know it is what it is. Yeah, guys. So thanks for hanging out. It's been a fun time with Deadpool. Hopefully, you know what, I can play some of the Deadpool stuff again for you guys while I get ready for the other stream, and then I'll be up in about 10 minutes. So thanks, guys. Let me pull up some other stuff here from when we did the Deadpool question and answer thing again. I'll let you guys listen to that while I get ready. But thanks for hanging out, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the cast. I'll be seeing you guys again soon. The stream will stay up. I'll be playing Castlevania in about 10 minutes here. So I'll play some more of the Deadpool stuff in the background here for you guys while I get ready. Alright.
Brought to you by Mike's Harder Lemonade. It'll get you harder.
You know what I find is really hard to masturbate to is Ken Burns' documentary on the Roosevelts.
Welcome to Dear Deadpool, where viewers like yourself seek advice from my good buddy, Wade.
Always happy to help.
Our first question comes from Mary in Durham, North Carolina.
Durham.
Dear Deadpool, my son's girlfriend is insisting on cooking Thanksgiving dinner this year, but how do I put this? She's not very good in the kitchen. I hope that's a euphemism. How can I gently offer advice without offending her pride?
Well, thank you for the note, Mary. Okay, this is a common problem. Now, when you're assaulting a compound at night, the most important factor is indeed stealth. I actually don't recommend projectile weapons because anything shy of a clean headshot, that's just total chaos. Now, my preference is a combat knife to the chest cavity. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Next question. This is from Patrick in Miami, Florida. Dear Deadpool, how late after a wedding is it still acceptable to give a gift? That's a good one.
Oh, yeah, that is a very, very common question.
And it could be probably answered in one sentence.
Thank you for writing, Patrick. Look, there's nothing more tense than a turf war between two hard-swinging crews. Somebody's moving in on your territory. My advice is threefold. 1, hit first. 2, hit hard. 3, headhunt. Ignore the low-level guys. They're easily replaced. It's the crew boss you want. Kill him where he lives, as a statement. Oh, and leave no male heirs. You don't want to face some Count of Monte Cristo-style revenge shit 30 years from now, do you? No. I think I stuck the landing on that one.
You most certainly did not.
Did.
All right, we're going to do one more, and this is one that, Wade, you're assuredly going to be able to answer, and you are going to answer. Okay?
Yep. Let's get to the heart of the matter here.
Carol from Hillsborough, California.
Hillsborough.
Writes, I know. That's the way I like to pronounce it. Dear Deadpool, my face neighbor has trespassed for the last time. Can you recommend 9mm ammunition with real stopping power? I don't want her getting up from this. Dark.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Excellent, Carol. This one I can handle. The key to making homemade potpourri is to handle your herbs and flowers very carefully. If you bruise them, they may lose their essential oils, which are absolutely crucial to that scent you're seeking.
We're not going to do this again.
Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop.